Welcome back to Simright Fashion Academy YouTube channel for another interesting tutorial. So in this class I'll be teaching you how to make this deep illusion yoke line, which is curvy, as you can see right there. So it's actually curvy, not like the regular illusion line, and this can be tricky as well. So here I have my yoke. So you can see the yoke runs all the way from the neckline into the waist line, as you can see. So I just did the front part only, so you can go ahead and attach the back, the sleeves and the peplum. So if this is what you want to learn in this class, I encourage you to stay till the end of this tutorial to learn more. Thank you. After our basic bodice pattern for the front. So the basic bodice pattern for the front, here I have my full front, and this is the shoulder line. Okay, this is my chest line, this is my bust point, my under bust point, and this is my waist or front length. So I have my full basic bodice pattern. So the first thing I'm going to do now is I've imputed my 2 inches bust dart, my 1.5 inch waist dart. So I will go ahead, my natural neckline is 3 by 3. I will just go ahead and get the mid line. So once you have gotten the mid line, simply connect it to the bust point. That's the first thing you do. The mid line I'll also connect to the bust point. So once you have done that, the next thing we want to do now is to start creating the difference between the bust point, that is the bust radius is 3.5. So if you wish, you can just go ahead on this line and measure that 3.5, then add half an inch to it. Okay, I will do the same. My bust radius is 3.5 on this line. I'll add half an inch to it. So this half an inch I added to it now, I'll just make dotted lines on that half an inch. So that will be where I'll start my yoke line. So what I have here is my center front. Please take note that this is my center front, okay? Because I have a full bodice there because it's actually asymmetric. So the next thing I will do now is to start creating the yoke design. So this yoke design, actually, I'm going to flip my ruler this way, connect from this point into the armhole. I'll also come over here and do the same. Connect from that point, this line meets that my yoke line, this line and this line, and connect. So after doing that, I'll come over to alright. So I actually lost my video clip. Okay, so after I've connected this line and this line, I'll just explain to you what I did. I came to the bust point here. On this bust point line, from this center line, I came out by 1 inch and I came out by 1 inch. So what I did was to connect my pattern ruler from there, from that 1 inch. I connected my line. So that is how I got this line. I placed it this way too. So when you are placing your ruler to that point, please don't eat too much in, okay? So just make sure it comes over to this line. So now I will come over to the I'm going to connect this line to, I will go in from here by half an inch. From the under bust, I'll come in by half an inch. I believe you understand. And once I come in by half an inch, I'll connect it to the center that leg. So this is what I mean. From that 1 inch, I'll just go ahead and do what? And connect. Please, you can use your hand. You can freehand it, because sometimes these rulers might not give you exactly what you want. So make sure it parts from the under bust on this side by half an inch, and make sure it terminates at the first dart. Can you see? Then from this point it terminates, I want the width of it to be 2 inches. Okay, remember that we had 2 inches here. I'll still measure that 2 inches here. I'll come on the under bust, I'll come in by 2 inches. Okay, so I will now connect from there, and I'll take it all the way to the 2 inches on the under bust point. So that is all we need for this design. So I'm going to contour my under bust. So from my under bust, usually this is my center front. My under bust circumference divided by 4 gives me 8.75. So I have 1.5 remaining. So I'll just impute 0.25 here and impute 1.25. So I'll go ahead and place my pattern ruler this way, flip it to that point this way. So I'll now bring it back to the waistline. So my waist is 1.5. Take note of that. I'll still repeat the same thing on this side. I've already calculated it on my underbust 0.25, and I'll go in by 1.25 on this. So please make sure you have your underbust well calculated. So if you don't know how to contour your underbust, we have a detailed video on this channel on how to properly contour your underbust for all sizes. So I'll go ahead and do what? Connect this to this and connect this to this. I believe you understand. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to cut out what I have and close up my buzzer. But before we do that, we are going to contour the over bust too. Okay, we have two options here. You can decide to use a princess dart for this, or you can decide to use the over bust. So I would like to use my over bust for this. So from here I'll go in by 0.75, and from here I'll come out by 0.75, the normal way you contour your over bust. So I'll place my pattern ruler like this, like this. I'll also come over here and repeat the same thing from here, 0.75, and from here I'll come out by 0.75. I'll place my pattern ruler like this and like this. Okay, so this is my yoke. So this neckline, I'll leave it the way it is. If you want to come a little more down, you can do that. So I'll just go ahead and cut what I have. So I'm going to cut this on camera because I actually want you to understand how I cut it. So here I'll just cut out the waist. I'll go over and cut out the bust back, so you can see how I did that. I'll go over to the armhole. This is my armhole. I'll come here on the shoulder. I will come here on the neckline. I'll come to the shoulder. I'll come back here. So on this point, you can see that this armhole, this neckline runs into the armhole. So there won't be need to replace your dart. Please take note, it runs into the neckline. So no over bust replacement. So I'll just go ahead and cut and get the exact shape of this illusion busting. So now I'll just go ahead and cut off my dart. This is normally what I would do if I'm working on an ordinary yoke, busting. This is what I would do. Can you see? I'll take off this dart normally and close up mine. So I'll just go ahead and close it up for that part. So I will have this part. So I'll close it up this way, as you can see. All right, so I'll be naming what I have here front number 1, which is F1, and what I have here, I'll name it F2. All right, so now I'll come over here and cut out my dart. Please take note or watch what I'm doing. You can see I cut out my dart. Okay, it is true we have an illusion there, but I still cut it out. Can you see? I cut it out. Then I'll go ahead and do what? And close up my dart. So all that has to be cut out, and you are going to see how we are going to still get our illusion with the dart we cut out. So I'll take off this dart now. So but before I do that, I want to reconcile what I have here, okay, with this. So I'll just go ahead and bring them together. Okay, after closing the border, just go ahead, bring the under bust points together as if you have sewn it. If you sew our under bust, this is definitely what we are going to have. So simply go ahead and do what? Reconcile this. So I'll just go ahead and take this to this. Can you see? And finally I will take this, I will increase it. It will still have to be at 2 inches. Can you see? So I'm going to increase it so you can see. So by the time I sew it, I still have the flow. So what you do is just to retrace or redraw the line after cutting out your illusion. So the bust dart is closed right here. So I'll now go ahead and cut out this yoke. So in cutting out this yoke is actually a continuous yoke. So by the time I get here, I'll cut the bustier out. Can you see? Then note that we are going to join this. So I'm going to bring my seal tape and join that yoke so that I will have the yoke continuous. So I just put my seal tape below like this. I'll bring this like this. So you just have to make sure you join. Okay, so that is that. So I'll just join it. Okay, so when you are doing this, you really actually need to be very careful. All right, so I think we got it now. We got it. So just take your time and place it. Okay, so I'm just trying to make sure that this is on the under bust. So you can equally go ahead and retrace. Okay, you can equally go ahead and retrace. So I'm going to cut my yoke. You can see I will separate the yoke and I'll go ahead and do what? Cut out this part of the bustier, which I named F2. So you can see F2, and then I'll cut the yoke. I'll continually cut the yoke. So now I have F1 and F2. Can you see? I'm going to sew F1 and F2 together. This is the yoke, you can see. Then we'll come over to, we call this F3 and we call this F4. So I'll just go ahead and cut out the over bust lines like this. Take off the dart. Make sure you close up the bust dart very well. So the bust dart, I'm trying to close it up appropriately. So by the time I close it up, this is what I have at that point. So still maintain what I'm cutting off, just cutting off the seal tape at the back. Everything remains the same. So when I'm still sewing this, I'm still going to start from the under bust. This is my under bust, so I'll still go ahead and sew from the under bust. Okay, after cutting, I'll make a notch. This part I'll sew is a little straight, and then I'll go ahead and sew. So this is what your pattern looks like at the end of the day. So I'm going to transfer all of these patterns right now on. Alright, so this is what our pattern for the front looks like. Like I said, the back pattern is very easy and simple. So now you have to name them F1, F2, F3, F4, and this is the yoke. So I'm going to use this fabric. I'm using a Doff's satin fabric, and I'm using a kind of lace fabric for this part. Okay, so I will For the yoke, I will work with this. This is the yoke. I'll take it away. I'll work with this. And for this, I'll use doll face. So I'm going to hairstay and cut and add all my seam allowances for F1, F2, F3, and F4. So once I'm done with it, I'll show you how to pad it accordingly. So now I'm done cutting out all my patterns, and I've added 0.5-inch seam allowance all around. So I would like to start from F1 and F2 to explain. Okay, you actually need to be very careful when joining or working on this. So for F1 and F2, make sure you make your notch on the under bust. So I'm making my notches on my under bust. So when I'm going to sew this, I'll match them under bust to under bust, then I'll take it to form the bustier. I believe you understand. So that is the first thing you do, notch at the under bust. Secondly, you also notch on this side of the under bust. That is for to attach the yoke. So if you look at the yoke, you can see the yoke will also be sewn at the under bust for the yoke. So whatever you want your yoke to be, you can go ahead and do that. So I'll just notch at the under bust for my yoke. I'll also notch on the under bust of this part. So when I'm sewing the yoke, I'll pick up the under bust notch, and that is where I'm going to start sewing. Okay, I'll make sure I match it here before I sew all the way. You can also make notch at the bust point and on the bust point. Okay, so all these notches are very important, very important. If you miss them, you might miss the sewing of this dress. So I've made sure I notch, then I'll come over to this part. So for this part, make sure you note your bust point. This is my bust point. Okay, then for this is my bust point for F1, bust point for F2, bust point is on this side for F3, and bust point is on this side. Bust point is where nipple point. Okay, so I'll also make my notch on the under bust here. I'll also make the notch on the under bust here. Okay, so by the time I match this and this, I'll now sew the bustier. So these notches are very important, like I earlier said. So now I'm going to form the wording. So I'll take off my patterns, my pins. Since I've notched them, I'm taking off my pins for F1 and F2, and I have my notches, as you can see. So I'll set it aside, then form my bustier. So here I have two pieces for lining and for fabric. Can you see that? Two pieces for lining and for fabric. So to form the bustier, for this is normal bustier we usually form. So from my bust point to my under bust point here is 3.5 inches. So I'll just go ahead and mark 3.5. So if you have been following us on this channel, this is how we form our bust point. Can you see? So this part is the upper part. So I'm going to cut it off, and I'll use it to cut my wadding. Okay, so I'll be using it to cut the wadding I'll use to pad this particular bustier. Okay, this part. So this dress is actually very technical, so if you don't take your time, you might miss it. So note that this is the bust point too, and the bust point to under bust is 3.5. So I just come up here and mark my 3.5. Okay, so all I need is just a little blend this way, and I'm going to take everything. In fact, I'm going to cut everything for my wadding. I'll cut everything on the under bust this way, and then trim it out this way. So this I will use for, as you can see. So the yoke, as you can see, has no problem. I've made my notches and added my seam allowance. Then for this, I will just add 0.5 inch. I will use just this piece, okay? But make sure you have your notch on the bust point, to sew the bust point area. Can you see that? And the under bust notch. So for this, I'm going to create the bustier padding. So I still have to, from the bust point, measure my 3.5. So you have to use your bust radius. So if your bust radius is 4 inches, that is what you are going to use. So make sure you have the upper part and the bust point, so that by the time you take it off, everything matches nice and flat. So I'll just take off my pins now, and I'm going to separate this, okay? So I'm going to cut out this. That is what I'm going to use now to pad this. So I'm going to add all my necessary cutting using my wadding. So this is what the wadding looks like. So I'm going to place it. We have the shiny part and the rough part. So for each part now, I'm going to pick it up the way it is now. I just want to show you something very important. The way it is now, that is how we are going to place our wadding. Okay, so the wadding is going to go on this, which is the front dress. It's going to go on this, so you separate them this way. So this one, I'll keep it for lining. It's going to be on this. I'll keep this one for lining, and on this. Okay, this dress is actually asymmetric, so you have to follow the way. If you are sewing this dress for yourself, this is how you have to follow it. Can you see? So now I would want to start cutting my wadding the way it is. That is how you place it. So for this, which is F1, this is the pattern I'm going to use. So note that I'll place it this way and turn it this way. So the sticky part will be like this. Can you see that? So the sticky part will be like this. So when I get my wadding now, I'm going to find the sticky parts. Can you see what I just did here? I'm going to find the sticky part. So the sticky part, you can see it's going to stick here. So this is the sticky part. I'll place it this way, okay, and place this like this. So I know why I'm showing you this, because at the end of the day, if you cut it normally, you are going to have some confusion. So you see what I did? That is what you are going to do. That is for F1. So I'll just simply go ahead and cut. For my F1, this is the side. I'm not adding any seam allowance to it. But for this part, I'll add 0.5 inch seam allowance to it. I believe you understand. That is for stitching to this. So now, as it is, I'll just pick it up. You can see the sticky parts. So I'll just go ahead and place it. Take off this. Okay, I'll place it like this. Can you see? So it forms the bustier for us. So I'll go ahead and use my hairstay the normal way I do, and this one is ready. I'll keep it. F1 is ready. Now coming over to the F2, this is how it's going to fall, and this is how the sticky parts will be. So I'll come back again and place my wadding. The sticky parts, which is the shiny part, I'll place it facing down, and this one I'll bring it facing this way. So for this, I'm going to add seam allowance all around. Okay, I know why I'm taking my time. If you actually want to sew this dress, you have to follow this video the way I'm showing you now. So here is the under bust. I will not add anything seam allowance, but on the side I'm adding 0.5. So make sure you measure your 0.5. But as I am looking at it, I'm actually gauging it and I know it's 0.5. So I'll just go ahead and add 0.5 all around. Can you see? I added 0.5 all around. So you can see how it is. I'll go ahead and do what? Place it like this. Take off this. So this is the sticky part. So I'll go ahead and use my hairstay to hold it down. So I'll hold it down. Can you see? So now this one is ready. So by the time I hold it down, I'll go ahead and join them together to form the bustier. I believe you understand. So what I did here now, that is what I'm going to do, was repeat for this. When I come to this, I'll turn it this way, place it this way, and use it to cut my wadding. Then when I come to this, which is F4, I'll also do what? I'll first, this is it, I'll first place it, okay? I'll first place it this way and turn it this way. That is how it's going to be. So I'll place my wadding and cut now. So you can see for this F3, I placed the sticky part below like this and I added 0.5 all around. So once I take it off, I'll just match it this way. Okay, can you see that? Then for this, I added only on this side. So once I take it off, the sticky part is here already. I'll just go ahead and arrange it appropriately and secure with my pin. So now this is what I'm going to sew. From the under bust point, I'll sew it to form the cuff. So I'm going to use my hairstay now to cover them. Then I'll go ahead and sew. So now I'm done staying the wadding, and I've placed it the way I'm supposed to sew them. Okay, so this is it. I've done staying it. I stayed everything. So now I'll pick up F1 and F2. I'll go to my machine and I'm going to match it up at the under bust line. I'll start sewing the normal way we sew our bustier, okay, till I reach to the end. I'll keep arranging it to form the bustier. I'll also do the same for this. Match it up bust point to bust point, under bust to under bust. So you can see where I have my notches. I'll sew this and give it a good press. I'll also do that for the lining. So let me do that. Sewing the cup. So this is what it looks like. So I just want to show you what I will do before I go ahead and iron. So I'll just go ahead and make notches. So make sure you make notches all around so it will be able for you to. So I'll stop my notch at the under bust. I'll do the same. From here is already from the under bust. I'll just make notches all around. So I'll go and iron it out now. This is the lining. So you can see the lining does not have the wadding. Okay, it's just without wadding, and I stitched. So I'll repeat the same from the under bust. Make sure you notch from the under bust up like that. So I'll go and iron with my tailor's hand. I've ironed it and given it a good press so you can see. So even if you have a little excess, just go ahead and do what? Just trim it off a little. Just a little. Okay, so that's just what I did here. I also noticed the excess right here. So I'll just go ahead and trim it off. Okay, so it does not affect anything at all. So I'm going to take off my pins now. I'm taking off my pins and I'm going to match the yoke. So I'll take off what I have here. So before you do this, make sure you have already notched. So this is my notch, as you can see here. I'll go ahead and pin notch to notch. So I'll first sew this side, okay? I'll keep this one and sew this. So this is my notch. So I'm just looking for it because this is a lace fabric. This is the notch and this is the notch. So I'll just turn it notch to notch and I'll secure with my pin in a way I can sew. So that is how I'll have it. Then the under bust, I'll match it under bust notch this way. So I'll go over to my machine now. I'm going to arrange it with my pin and I'll sew from here. Can you see? So this part is the end of it. If you note, this is on the waistline. So I'll go ahead and arrange it from this point, so at the end of the day this matches with the waistline, okay, this way. So I'll go and sew 0.5 from here till I return. So I'm done sewing one part of it. So make sure you match your notches, very important, so everything matches as we design. So now I'm going to match bust point to bust point and under bust to under bust. This is the under bust. So I'll go over to my machine, secure them with my pin. I'll start from the, I'll keep matching it till I'll go round and sew. Okay, so I'll do that. Right, so now I'm done joining the both of them. So by the time your bust goes in this way, you can see we have that illusion, okay, running all the way to the waistline. So now I'm going to turn it this way and bring in the lining, the part that matches with each one. These are the parts that matches with each one. So I'll just go ahead and turn this. Okay, let me sew this first. I'll turn this way and I'm going to match notch to notch, okay, secure with my pin. I'll also find the other notch and secure with my pin. So I'm going to sew following these seam lines, okay, on my machine now. After securing it with my pin and matching up seam line to seam line, I'm going to do what? Carefully sew following this, and as I'm sewing I'll be pushing out these seams so they don't go over to the lace. Okay, so I'll keep placing it and sewing. I'll do that now. See, I've sewn the lining. Okay, so make sure you pick everything. So I'm going to place this one now this way. Okay, make sure I match my notches, so always match the notches at all time. So I'll flip it this way and I'm going to match to the under bust like this. Then I'll start from here to sew. Okay, I'll follow the stitching line, always follow the stitching line. I'll do that, match up seam line to seam line till I reach. Now I'm done sewing everything for the front. This is the inside of the back. You can see it's neat. So by the time your bust goes in, the lace part stretches this way, okay, like this. Can you see that it stretches this way up to the waistline? So all you are going to do is to trim off, just make it to align. After ironing, I'm going to do that. After ironing, I'll just trim off and make it to align. So I'm not going to actually make the back, okay, so you can make the back yourself. So let me give it a good press right now. Then the next is to cut out the back and attach with your zipper and put your sleeve and your peplum, okay.